Welcome to part 2 of my presentation. Now I'm going to be talking about sexting and revenge porn and tenancy. First up, let's talk about sexting and revenge porn. In our digital age, it's easy for pictures and information to be quickly spread using technology like our smartphones. However, sexting or taking, sending and sharing pictures via these technologies could expose you to risk, especially if it involves harassing someone. It can have long-lasting implications for your social life, and you could also be criminally charged. So, what is sexting? Do any of you know what it means? Sexting is the sending of provocative or sexual photos, messages or videos. They are generally sent using a mobile phone, but can also include posting this type of material on the internet. So what does the law say about sexting? The law says it's illegal to create, send, possess, or even intend to possess images of someone aged under 18 who is involved in a sexual activity, a sexual pose, acting in a sexual way, or showing sexual parts. This includes yourself as well. It's a very wide definition and includes lots of different types of behaviours. I thought we could now consider some situations, and you can let me know if you think they could be considered sexting. Okay, first question. An 18-year-old boy texted a 13-year-old girl and asked her for a hot, steamy picture. I'll give you some time after each question to think about it. What do you think? Well, yes, it can be considered sexting, and you could be charged. Okay, second question. What if that 13-year-old girl texted back that hot, steamy picture? Yes, that also can be considered sexting. In those scenarios, although they're both considered sexting, who do you think could be charged? That's right, both of them could be charged under sexting laws. So let's look at the risk of sexting. You could be charged with criminal offences, for example, possessing child exploitation material or distributing child exploitation material, which are very serious offences. So if you're found guilty of this offence, you could be sentenced up to 7 years in jail if you were 16 or under, or 14 years in jail if you were 17 or older. So how do you think being charged with this offence could affect your future? So have you ever wanted to coach a sporting team or work with young people in general? Have you ever wanted to fly to Canada or overseas? Did you know that having such charges could seriously limit your employment opportunities, such as teaching, childcare or tutoring? Did you know that some countries do not want you to travel there if you have these charges too? So if you've been involved in sexting, first of all, don't panic. So it's unlikely you'll get into trouble if you were sent the images without asking for them, and if you deleted the images as soon as you could. If you know the sender, let them know you do not want them to send any more images, and if someone has images of you, ask them to delete them. Importantly, do not share any photos or videos that you may have, and do not ask or share any further ones. Okay, so now let's talk about revenge porn. Revenge porn is the distribution of, or threat to distribute, intimate images of a person without their consent. So what does the law say about revenge porn? Well, it says it's illegal to distribute or even threaten to distribute intimate images of a person without their consent and in a way that would cause that person to be distressed. So the definition is very wide It actually doesn't even matter if you have the image because it covers threats. It also covers photoshopping an image. If someone has given you consent to see an image, just remember, it doesn't mean that they've given you consent to share it. So why shouldn't you do it? Well, if you're under 16, you cannot give consent, and it's never okay to share the image. You could be charged and sentenced to 3 years in jail. It could also be considered cyberbullying, which is another crime. Let's also remember, it's important to respect other people's choices and their right to privacy and dignity. If you've been involved in sexting or revenge porn and you need further advice, remember the free legal services I advised earlier. Our number again is 3881 3500. Okay, now it's time to talk about renting. So I thought I'd introduce you to Sheldon and Leonard. Sheldon and Leonard have never rented before and have no idea what to do. Maybe we should help them. First up, Sheldon and Leonard have found a place to rent and the owner or agent have given them some forms to sign. These forms should be standard forms issued by the Residential Tenancy Authority. They protect you and the landlord and govern the agreement between you. These forms should be a Form 18A, a form about your bond, and an entry condition report. You should make sure you read the forms, unlike Sheldon and Leonard. If you're not sure what's in the forms, you can ask a trusted person or give us a call. So just remember these tips for the start of your tenancy. Use the RTA approved forms, ensure that your bond is held with the RTA, and bond should be no more than 4 weeks' rent. Another important tip is to ensure you complete and return the entry condition report within 3 days. Do it before moving in furniture and take photos. Filling out this report properly will avoid future problems, especially with the return of your bond. Okay, so Sheldon and Leonard have moved in after making sure they have read and understood the forms. The first thing they want to do is have a housewarming party. So like some parties, there is a bit of a mess. Unfortunately, one of the party goers has also broken a window. So who do you think is responsible for that? Well, the landlord is responsible for keeping the property in good condition. However, if you or one of your guests maliciously has broken a window, you can be held responsible for that. It is your responsibility to look after the property and keep it clean and free from damage. Well, what if the window broke due to no fault of yours? Normal wear and tear is a responsibility of the owner. However, if Leonard or Sheldon don't tell the owner about it, they may end up having to fix it. It's important to let the owner know about any issues. Next, Sheldon decides he wants to put up some pictures. What do tenancy agreements say about this? So this could be considered a fixture to the property. If you want to attach or install any objects, you should ask the landlord or the agent for permission. On another night, Leonard is cooking and the oven breaks. What should Sheldon and Leonard do about this? So the oven would be considered an inclusion, which is anything supplied with the property for your use. These are generally the responsibility of the owner. And if the owner doesn't fix the oven, Leonard and Sheldon have rights to issue their own notice to remedy the breach. Sheldon and Leonard have had a good run, but now they're moving out. What do they need to do now? That's right, there's more forms that are needed. So there's the exit condition report, and there's forms about the refund of your bond. Tips to remember: fill out the exit condition report because this can protect you. Maybe take some photos as well so you've got some evidence down the track. And have a good look at your bond forms and get advice if you need to. So what happens if Sheldon and Leonard go to rent again and find they're having trouble because they're on what's commonly known as the blacklist or ticker? And what can they do about this? First of all, Leonard and Sheldon should know you can only be on that list for lawful reasons, i.e. money owed, objectionable behaviour or repeated breaches, Sheldon and Leonard should have also been informed. You can only be on ticker for 3 years, and importantly, you can object. So Sheldon and Leonard can dispute listings that are unlawful, incorrect, ambiguous, out of date, or simply unjust. They can communicate this directly with the agent or the landlord, or they can apply to QCAT to have the listing removed. So where can Sheldon or Leonard go? Well, there is a free legal service called Q-Stars or Tenants Queensland, and their number is 1300 744 263. Other useful contacts are the RTA, their number is 1300 366 311, or QCAT, their number is 1300 753 228, or just Google these places for more information. So that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening, and remember our number is 3881 3500. I'd just like to say thanks again to Legal Aid Queensland and their assistance in producing this resource.